Hey, and welcome to this new Photoshop tip for Quite Frankly. Now, we all know the problem, right? We're shooting models, we're shooting portraiture, and the skin isn't always perfect. In fact, I've never seen a model that has absolutely perfect skin. So I have to do some retouching. Now, there are many techniques out there, but there's one that really caught my eye, and it's called frequency separation. Now, normally you would use a plugin like, for example, Imagenomic Portraiture or Topaz Clean. But what if you don't want to use a plugin, or you want more control, or you want just that little bit more extra quality? Frequency separation is awesome for this. It sounds a little bit technical, but bear with me, it's very simple to do. The first thing you have to realize that is, if you look at this model, you can distinguish two different things. You can see the skin, and you can see all the little pores and all the little, well, you see here the small unevenness in the skin. Now in Photoshop you can actually separate those. Let's call the lower part, low frequency, all the skin, and the high frequency, all the detail. So the first thing you have to do is separate these two, and that's very simple in Photoshop. You just create two background layer copies, and to make it easy you put them in a group. Let's call the group skin. There we go. Put these two in. Now the top one we will call high frequency. This is where all the details will be. And the lower one we will call low frequency. This is where actually the skin is. Let's call the colors. Okay, now make this one invisible. What you now have to do is you view in. There we go. And you go to filter, Gaussian blur. And you actually choose a setting where you can still see all the facial structure, but you lose the fine detail. Now don't use this setting as your setting, because it will vary per camera, but also if you do a full-size portrait or maybe a full body. So this setting will change constantly, but make sure you see the structure of the face, but you lose all the detail. There we go. Now connect the top one again and go to that layer. Now we have to separate all this stuff from the skin. And you go here to Image, Apply Image. And now these settings are very important. You choose your lower frequency, because that's actually the blurred layer. You make sure that your channel is on RGB invert. You do your blending mode to add, opacity to 100% and scale 2 and 0. This is for a 16 bits workflow. You press OK. And now you go here to your blending mode and you go to linear light. There we go. Everything looks normal, right? You don't see any difference. There's only one thing you can now do, and this is really powerful. You go to your lower frequency. And this is how I do it. And again, from here on off, everybody does it a little bit differently. But I like to do it very fast. You go to your quick mask. You take your brush. What you actually do is you find areas that have the same luminosity, where you want to take away some of the unevenness in the skin. So let's say the cheeks. Here we go. I'll just paint this in. Of course you can use short keys, but for the video I won't use any shortcuts. So you go here, make sure you select inverse, and you go to filter, blur, and use Gaussian blur. Now don't go all the way up, because that looks terrible. Let's go down and make sure that it just blends in. So you see the preview before and after. If you go too high you will see luminosity changes, and you don't want that. There we go, this is nice. Okay. Go to your brush again, and now for example the nose, you need a little bit less because we want more detail on the nose, right? So paint in the nose. Same thing again, select inverse, filter, Gaussian blur, pull down just a little bit. There we go. And now the forehead. There we go. inverse again, and blur. There we go. Okay, now let's take this area. Inverse again, and blur. Okay, now if you look at it before and after, let's zoom out a little bit. You can actually see that you're already there. It looks much better. But now let's say that you also want to remove some of these smaller problem areas in the skin. Now you switch to the high frequency, and the fun part comes because you're only retouching the details. You can be a little bit more rough when you retouch. Oh, sorry. Make sure that you're on current layer. There we go. And as you can see, there's no more problem when you normally heal. You get some color changes, and that problem is not there anymore because you're actually not on the color layer, because the color layer is the low frequency. And you're now retouching on the high frequency layer. So this is a very, very powerful technique, and you can spend hours on it, or you can do it very, very fast. And I actually like this technique a lot better than all the plugins. The plugins are just a little bit faster. But if you really have to do some quality work, I think this is one of the fastest ways, which gives you great results because you keep the original skin structure and you can retouch very, very easily on the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. There we go. Now let's see a before and after. Now I just see that I moved my layer. There we go. Sorry. So before and after. So very powerful technique, works wonders for faces, and I hope you enjoyed this little video and try it out for yourself. Good luck.